Good evening and welcome to Thursdays with Nami. My name is Peg Morrison. I'll be your host for the night. I'm the Director of Programs with Nami, North Carolina. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, North Carolina. I'm glad you're here. Thursdays with Nami is our way of building conversations and building community around the topic of mental health. Tonight, we'll be looking at COVID-19. How does it impact the brain? 30 million Americans have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since it started just over a year ago. Over 500,000 of those have died. Those are sobering numbers, aren't they? Over time, we've learned more and more about this illness. It's been very unpredictable. Initially, it sounded like a bad cough or a light flu, nothing to worry about. Then it was a serious illness that caused people's oxygen levels to drop abruptly, even while they were feeling perfectly fine, hanging out at the barbecue right up until the point they passed out. Then there are the long haulers, people who are ill, seem to have gotten over it. They start testing negative after they've recovered, but they're still having symptoms months and months on end. What does all this mean and how does it affect mental health? Well, for all of us, COVID-19 has impacted our human need to connect with one another. We've been quarantining, we've been remote working, our coworkers are now our pets. It's been a whole new world. Of course, those who actually suffered with COVID-19 have had much worse to deal with. There are the regular symptoms, the coughing, the breathlessness, fatigue. And the virus can affect the brain. So we've got not just our physical symptoms, but also the neurological symptoms. That can be confusion, memory loss, tough time concentrating, issues with sleep, depression, anxiety. This is starting to really get into the realm of mental health. Tonight, we'll be talking with two brave COVID-19 survivors who already had a recovery journey with mental health challenges before they got COVID. How has this affected their story? Shawn Caldwell of Huntersville and Marcia Doty of Franklin will be talking with you in just a moment and hearing your stories. I'm really glad you're here. As usual, the first part of our show will be an interview with our guests. Then we'll see a quick video of the week, or in this case, a couple videos of the week, and take questions from you, members of our virtual studio audience. Thursdays with Nami is funded in part by the North Carolina Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Abuse Services through SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, through the Federal Community Mental Health Block Grant Fund. My goodness, that is a mouthful every week. But we're so grateful, so grateful for their guidance and support. Now, without further ado, our formal introduction. Shawn Caldwell is a peer support specialist who recently retired and went to grad school. He retired from Atrium Health. Shawn is a veteran of the Marine Corps and a graduate of Belmont Abbey College. He serves on the board of Nami Lake Norman Iredell, and he's the chair of the Nami North Carolina Veterans Committee. Marcia Doty is president of Nami Appalachian South, which covers the westernmost portion of the state. She's a peer supporter, a mother, and most of all, a survivor. Marcia has overcome trauma, mental health challenges like me, and most recently, COVID-19. Welcome, guests.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, so we'll jump right into our questions. We always like to know the backstory of what brings our guests here tonight, what brought you in connection with Nami. So tell us your stories in a nutshell.
Then I'm going first. Okay. I'm here because you asked me. That's why I'm here. I got involved with NAMI after more than 20 years in 12-step programs and more than 20 years of being clean. I thought I was going through menopausal issues and talked to my sponsor, then talked to my nurse practitioner and began, it took me about 3 different medications before I got the medication that didn't give me too many side effects. I've been diagnosed with ADHD years ago, like probably, a long time. I've been taking medication for that for more than 20 years. And, but I never thought any kind of help besides taking the medication and stuff I would have learned online or something. And when I first got diagnosed with anxiety and depression, I didn't want to I did not want another label, even though I found labels very useful. I just didn't want to belong to another group. So I had several friends that were participating in the NAMI support group, and I probably said, yeah, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. It probably took me another year. I've been participating in that and taking some of the classes for about the last 8 years, maybe. And have been able to present for In Our Own Voices in the schools. I'm trying to get that back there now. It's feeling like a mountain I can't climb, but we'll see. I'm now sober 30 years. And yeah. And I just retired, and I'm now trying to become, I'm practicing becoming an artist of sorts. And being the president of NAMI, and trying to stay relatively even keeled. I found the questions you asked about COVID, I won't say amusing, but like when I was experiencing brain fog, I didn't know I was experiencing brain fog. Like it wasn't until, a lot about, so before I've been pretty much even keeled for years now, occasional ups and downs, but nothing major. Before everybody else panicked about this virus, I panicked. I saw it coming. I didn't see us closing down cities, but my son was in construction, and I could see it really affecting the economy, and therefore affecting me. I mean, he went from making $100 a day to now he has a job where he makes under $10 an hour. So I mean, it's a huge impact on our incomes. Not that he supports me, but when he can't support himself, I'm there, right? So I really panicked just before they shut down San Francisco. And going to the support groups, I learned that I had a panic disorder. I had been diagnosed with PTSD. I always leave something out, so I'm sure there's something I've left out. But that's, I was really like, you don't know how bad this is going to be. You don't know how bad this is going to be. Like I couldn't have anticipated what did occur in terms of the shutdown, but I knew we were going to have a severe financial backlash to this.
Yeah,
and,
gotcha.
But by the time, I was sort of stunned when they started shutting stuff down, and I had just become president. It's like, what do we do? And we don't have access to internet everywhere. So people can't do Zoom meetings, even if they want to do Zoom meetings. So I gathered myself up, and we started meeting in a local park. And we did that all summer into the fall. And now we're meeting indoors again. And in doing that, I have to say, like, I felt like the tools I picked up in recovery really helped me. I think that people who are practicing recovery for a long time, like I've only got today. Like, do I have enough food? Do I have enough, like I had to keep it in the day. And I felt like the people that go to our support group have been participating in recovery for quite a while. Like they were in the same place. Financially, it impacted me, but not like I just started getting Social Security. I have another check I get. So I wasn't dependent on work for the first time in my life. I did come up, months in, probably sometime in the summer, I noticed I was a little depressed, that there just wasn't enough human contact. And I went out and got a job, which I'm probably now about to give up because it's just physically too demanding. And I only worked 1 or 2 days a week, and it was just being a cashier at a local Dollar General 5 minutes from my house. And I knew the manager. I've worked with her twice before. So like that really helped my mental health, like to just see people and interact, and like not anything intense. So that's
a good snapshot,
right? And then now do we go on to the rest of the questions, or just the bio thing?
Not yet. You're doing great. Good. That kind of gives me a good sense of the road that brought you here. So we all, we all know a little bit more about Marcia now. Let's go to Shawn, and he'll tell a little bit about his journey here. Thanks, Marcia.
No problem. What first and foremost brought me to Nami was my military history. I was diagnosed, I'm a combat veteran with severe PTSD. And so that was my entry into NAMI. That was one of the tools that they gave me, was a coping mechanism, and it worked out well. And from there, I kind of connected being a peer support specialist at a mental health hospital, and then also with living it with daily, and then seeing my patients that we worked with. So that was my introduction into my segue into NAMI, was using those things. And then from that, after I got in it and utilized the tools, I saw that there was opportunities to be a help, not just, I don't want to say not just take, but add to it. And so I joined the board. And from there, being a veteran, I joined the veteran board. And then you meet people like Peg and things that you like. And so it comes not only a position, but it kind of becomes a family. And so that's my entry and how I wound up getting into NAMI.
Yeah, and I would say my journey was kind of similar. I went through, I kind of muddled through without any mental health treatment, living with depression, anxiety. I had some early life trauma, and my life got really broken down at a certain point. And that's when I sought out NAMI and peer centers and realized that there's this group of people that speaks a language that allows me to feel really understood. It sounds like both of you had a similar experience.
And I guess, go ahead, Peg.
No, I was just, I'm done interjecting. Thank you.
I was just going to say, it seems like sometimes instead of, you say, how do you find, NAMIs tend to find us, like you said, somewhere, you find like-minded folks. And so you're like, oh, I want to do this, or they understand it. So it's like, how did you get to NAMI? It's really NAMI found me, it was available, and I joined it.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm grateful on NAMI's behalf that we found both of you. You both have been program leaders and board leaders, and that's wonderful. So for many of us, as we've been talking, COVID-19 has increased loneliness, isolation. What was your mental health like before COVID-19 entered your life?
Me?
Yes.
I sort of felt like I covered it. It was pretty.
You might have.
Yeah, it was pretty. I was, I've been in recovery for a long time, so it was just. And I tend to like to isolate, so being told I had to stay home wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So.
I get that. I'm an introvert.
Right. So for me, it was, like I said, I panicked at the beginning before everybody else did it. And I sort of saw it coming. I'm a sort of a news junkie. So, I saw it coming. I didn't see what, like I said, I didn't see the shutdowns and stuff like that happening, but I saw that we were going to be in trouble, and that we didn't really have a leader that was going to address it the way it needed to be addressed.
So your self-care was in check, and you had your support groups, and you had a good foundation of recovery, but you just saw uncertainty. You saw trouble on the horizon.
Yeah, I thought, it has not yet turned out to be like the Great Depression. It may seem more like that if you're like in Manhattan, where all the theater people lost their jobs and everything, but I'm out here in rural North Carolina, and there aren't, there's food insecurity, but it's not like what I've heard stories about the Depression being like. So it has, if it hasn't gotten that bad yet, that's for sure out here.
Right.
We're poor. Most of us are poor out here anyway. So, it's not that, and it hasn't seemed to impact us financially the way I thought it would.
Yeah. We're all in together, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Shawn.
I guess for me, prior to COVID, my mental health was, I'd put it on a 6 or a 7. And I'm guilty of not really pressing or utilizing the tools until it almost get to an emergency. And I find as a now a provider, we do that. So I was taking my meds. I was, going to staying active. I'm not much of an isolation person, because I know with my PTSD, if I do that, it takes me to a dark spot. But I wasn't where I needed to be, but I wasn't, like I said, a 6 or a 7. But if I started slipping off the grid, that's when I would get really bad. And I would do that by not following my regimen. So my mental health was fairly decent, and I had to try to keep it that way as a peer support. I had to be able to connect with the folks and they can kind of tell when you're not doing what you need to do, when you're in an unhealthy state. They can tell when you're not in a healthy state. So 6 or 7. But once again, when I let myself slip, I wouldn't follow my regimen. I would get up to a bad spot, some 8, 9, some 10s even sometimes.
Okay. So
prior
we'll
to
start.
COVID.
Got it. So we'll start with you this time, Shawn. When did you test positive for COVID and what symptoms did you have?
I tested positive. My son and I actually went out of town. We came up to the Winston-Salem, Greensboro area, High Point area, playing golf. And so that was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was October of 2020. And I tested, I started feeling, we went to I'm just telling myself, I think it's called Twin Peaks. Went to like a sports bar, watched a ball game. And it was kind of like you're supposed to have your mask on, but nobody was really following those things. And we had a great weekend and everything, came home and I tested positive Tuesday the 6th. I was feeling bad after I got back home and couldn't do anything. Sunday night, I felt bad, couldn't keep anything down and started going through those type of feelings. That Monday, I couldn't even hardly get out of bed. And Tuesday, they took me, my fiance is a nurse, took me to a clinic and they did the actual on-site testing. So I got my results back in 15 minutes and they told me I was positive. And so that was October the 6th of 2020.
Okay. And you were hospitalized at one point, right?
I was afraid to go to the hospital. They wanted to put me in the hospital, but I live by myself. And so I felt my chances were better. But I was down and out for 3 weeks. I was bad, but I was afraid to go to the hospital. I really was.
Okay. So 3 weeks, that's a while to feel really ill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so my mom and my aunt would come by and my fiance, and they would set my food on the porch and, and, oh yeah. Because like you said, it was so, it wasn't new, but once you got it, and we have a small family and they're older, I didn't want to give them anything. So it was a trying time. I would wish that on anybody.
Right. How about you, Marcia?
Well, I got tested on the 23rd of December. I tell people Devin and I got COVID for Christmas.
Oh.
I hear you.
We did. And life just stopped. I mean, it's almost like being in an alcoholic blackout. Like I don't, like
Is
people
Devin your
said,
son?
yeah. And I mean, we just lived on ginger ale and crackers for days. I mean, he was telling a friend of ours, like, she was like, oh, I'll just get soup. He's like, you don't understand. You're too weak to get up and make a can of soup.
Oh my goodness.
And, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I couldn't, one day somebody had to bring food to us, like takeout. And besides that, we just sat on the couch and watched TV and I went through phases of symptoms. I never was nauseous, but I certainly had GI stuff going on. I thought I was never going to stop coughing. We'll get into it later, but I'm not completely symptom free yet.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh God, I mean, it just, it was not a pretty sight. I was really weak. I lost my sense of taste for about 5 days. And then when I got my sense of taste back, everything tasted awful. So it wasn't like I had the right sense of taste. I didn't have any body pain, which was really weird because I struggle with body pain on a regular basis. So that was weird. And the thing I remember the most is just being exhausted at a point that I can't even imagine. And the weird thing about COVID for me is that, I didn't have the breathing thing. I had respiratory stuff, but I never felt short of breath. My son was a lot sicker. I almost took him to the hospital. And he got it, like Shawn said, he was reffing games all day and he's 6'7", so he's not going to get droplets on him in public. But all his parents yelling at the games and that's pretty much where he picked it up. And he was more exposed. That's why he got sicker. Cold medicine saved my life. It gave me enough energy to feed my dogs and feed my chickens and go back to bed. I mean, we just, I tested negative the first week in January, but January was lost.
Okay.
And I'm still today, I thought I was all better. And today I had a bunch of stuff go on in me, and I'm like, is that something else, or is that just more COVID? Like, I've had trouble with my knee, but now it's much worse, and I haven't done anything, so is it impacting my physical health? Because that's the weird thing about COVID. No two people are the same.
Yeah, it's like a chameleon disease. It really is. And
I feel for the really serious long haulers, and I now actually fit in that category because it's something like a month or 6 weeks, and I definitely had symptoms for at least 10 weeks.
Mhm.
And I'd have a couple of good days, and then I would just be out.
Mhm,
I would
mhm.
be complete. Like, I remember I never call out for work, and I took a shower one morning, and I sat down, and I'm like, there's no way I can stand up for 4 hours.
Yeah,
And that was 6 weeks after I was negative, or a
Yeah.
month after I was negative. And that's what makes COVID like anxiety producing for me. Like, is it going to be a lifelong thing where all of a sudden I have a day where I just can't function? And I don't know.
Right.
There's no answer. I don't know. I mean, I really thought I had it nailed until today, and today was not a good day. So,
Okay.
that's the thing that, and nobody can tell you. That's the weird thing about COVID. It's not like any other disease. Nobody can tell you how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, we do not have a blueprint at this point, and they're getting there. How about you, Shawn? Any thoughts?
For myself, I wrote down the symptoms that I find myself still having. I call it the F and F. I have real bad fatigue and fog. Uh, I always was able to remember things and retain things. And I mean, like simple people's names that I see every day. I can see you, and then I'm like, I can see your face. And for the life of me, I can't remember the person's name. And now I'm finding I have to write lists for everything. I used to like to say, I can go to the store, okay, maybe not a whole bunch of items, but 5 items I can remember. And if I don't write them down, I might go in and get 2 of the 5.
Mhm.
And so, so I had the problems with the fatigue, the fog. I wrote a little list for myself. I have a loss of patience. Seems like my patience is very short now. It didn't used to be that, like small things, and some of that could be maybe getting older. But I was a happy-go-lucky person, still very happy, and that was kind of why I had to, come out of the hospital. But I find myself things that didn't used to bother me, they bother me now.
Yeah.
And so I had to work on that. And then some sleeplessness. I have a CPAP machine, so I used to could sometimes. I've started taking naps because I get tired. Seem like easy. I do. I get fatigued, so I take a nap. And I used to like lay down and get a little quick nap. But now, if I don't put on that breathing machine for everything, I find I can't go to sleep. So I don't want to become dependent. That's why I started. That's why I got the dog. I said maybe the exercise. Not maybe it does. The exercise helps, but so I'm just trying to work on those things. So I put fatigue, memory loss, sleeplessness, a loss of patience, and then that's it. And my fogginess.
Yeah, and a lot of those are that's the classic list, Shawn, of
I can relate to
neurological
that too.
symptoms.
I've never had sleep problems, and for a while I was having trouble sleeping.
Mhm.
I'm back to not being able to sleep again, but I've never had issues with going to sleep or staying asleep, and
Mhm.
I had a period of that too. That's one of the things that's just weird about it. So,
And so for Marcia and for Peg, I looked down at my list and I left off one of the big ones, my neurological stuff. But I'm working on that. I'm thinking for me, so I had some tingling in, but I think that may be some of my stroke related stuff. So not bad. I mean, I don't lose numbness, but I have these tingles that I never had. So like you say, none of us know yet. I work on it. I try to find out the information, and then I don't just buy into it. I try to check it out, and like you say, one shoe doesn't fit all of us.
right.
Right.
But neurological as well.
Right. And I think it was before we officially started the show, Shawn, you told me about your stroke.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a heck of a winter, haven't you?
I have. I'm gonna finish it off next week. Next Wednesday, I'm actually getting married. So I said, well, if the stroke don't kill me, I hope marriage doesn't.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Well, she's been through quite a winter too.
Mm-hmm. As always, no.
Oh my goodness. So I think you both answered this. I had a friend who had anxiety with COVID because of all the headlines, because, oh my gosh, this is COVID, I've tested positive. But then there's also, it does affect the brain. It can cause inflammation, and it prevents oxygen from getting to your brain, which is part of the confusion and fatigue and feeling bad. Do you feel like you've had more depression and anxiety since COVID? You definitely touched on that, Marcia, but go ahead.
Well, for me, like it's fear and frustration.
Yeah.
It's like I was really foggy for a period today. I'm like, why am I so out of it? And I was and this pain thing is just weird. I mean, I was hiking 45 minutes an hour 6 months ago with my dogs, and I couldn't do that right now. So it's the not knowing that is anxiety producing. And it's that's what else to say. And now the fog has come in, and I don't know what I was going to say.
That's okay.
You can relate, right?
I can.
I mean, with ADHD, I always had that, but I have it more now. And it's just hard to figure out what it's like. Something's invaded my body, and I don't like it hasn't left yet completely. I thought it had. That's disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. But that was good though. That was a good illustration. Thank you.
And I guess for me, Peg, with that, you hit it on the head with so much information. It's almost information overload for me. Marine Corps, you want to be solution orientated, and you can't. You're talking what you share with us, over half a million people. You can't, and so that affects you in itself. Just those numbers are staggering. And then you turn around and it affects one person this way. And then my son had it as well, the one who went play golf, but he was only down for and he's young though, he was down for 4 days, and he went back to work. So I'm like, what is going on? So you get anxiety, the anxiety of you having it, the anxiety, I'm speaking for myself, the anxiety of me not wanting to make somebody else sick, my loved ones, we got a small family. So all of that, mine more so than depression was anxiety. I don't want to give it to anybody. And then, when I was really down and out and bad, I was talking to the Lord. I was like, Lord, I've been through so much stuff. I've been so many different places. I'm not going to check out like this, going to a sports bar. You're going to kill me. I went to a sports bar. So, all that stuff played a part. And even like Marcia says to this day, you feel better, but life as I know it has really changed. Life as I know it is different. So I don't want to say I have a more value for life now, but I do. I find myself doing something I want to do each day. I find myself trying to share something positive with some person each day. And because this COVID thing really takes you to the point where, like you say, bam, I could have just been gone.
Right. Wow. That's very powerful.
Well, and the quality of my life may have shifted because of COVID. I don't know yet. The what I will be able to do. It's a not known factor.
Oh, I know mine had.
Right. It's an unknown. And that, again, for me, that's one of the hardest things to live with is uncertainty. Give me bad news. I'll take bad news, but don't give me a question mark.
Yeah, give me an opportunity for a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So on a light note, we've got some congratulations for Shawn in the chat box and on Facebook. Congratulations to you. And a comment from Lisa Tamer. Thank you for sharing your experiences, both of you. So getting some, yeah, always love our comments from Facebook in the chat box. So whoever wants to jump in first, were there any turning points or defining moments in your experience with COVID?
Marcia, you want to go ahead?
No, you can go first on this one because I don't know if I have an answer.
Okay, I do have an answer for that. Yeah, that was it. When I was so sick that I thought I might die, for me, that was a turning point. And I recognized and realized that if God allowed me, and that's what I choose to say, my higher power, to make it through this, I will I know we all want to pass one. I will take a more valuable and a more appreciative step toward life. So I know for myself, that was my turning point with it. I was at a point where I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you did.
Me too.
Yes, I never thought that I wouldn't make it through. I didn't I also never thought that it wouldn't end. And now I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to the health I had before I got sick. And that, I mean, that and turning 65 has the same impact. It's like, you know, I have this little job I got to help me with my depression, but now it's impacting my physical health. So maybe I let go of the job. I will let that be a doctor's decision, because I'm going to go see a doctor next week about my knee because I turned 65 and I actually have insurance again. God bless.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I never think I've been so happy about an older birthday, you know. And so I'll take his opinion on that, because I really do enjoy the simple, like just having a simple job, you know, nothing heavy duty. You know, it's not so much about the little bit of money I bring in there. It's more about just being with people and having a place to show up at.
Mhm.
And but it's really like, I had thought about taking this long road trip. I don't know that I can take that long road trip now. Like, to just hit the road for 6 months. I don't know if I can do that now. So time will tell.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so glad you're doing all the right things to take care of yourself. You know, you have a job for structure and something to sort of frame up your day and get you out around people, but you're going to defer to your doctor and, you know, make the right choices with your health care to take care of yourself. We're all pulling for you.
Thank you.
Shawn, you were muted. Did you say something? Or would you
I
like
did
to?
unmute because Zoe, I'm gonna unlock my door. I think my fiance's getting in. Zoe's letting me know the alarm is going off. So 1 second.
Sure, we'll be here. All right, so let's move right along. You've definitely covered the next question. You're still recovering physically and mentally. Marcia, I think that's true for Shawn as well. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Did you
Maybe. Maybe.
Fingers crossed, right? Did you encounter any stigma with COVID? I know I just have allergies, which cause me to cough endlessly on some days. And in this era that we're in, I feel very weird about just coughing.
Well, I have to say, once I went back to work, I was really public about having had COVID, because if you do not go to a doctor, and I did not have insurance then, so I did not go to a doctor, and I did not end up hospitalized. There's not very many people. There's not like I never post like my personal stuff on Facebook, but I posted my COVID, the hard part of my COVID journey, so that other people would know what worked. Like, I had a real issue with mucus. Well, who would know that Powerade and Gatorade broke it up because of the salt factors in it. You know, it was like simple, like things like that, and how much cold, like you want to take cold medicine because you don't want to have, if you have a respiratory issue, you don't want to have a respiratory infection on top of COVID. So you want to stay dried up. So, so I was really public with the people that came through my store, and it was amazing how many people had lost loved ones. And I live in a small town, but just, you know, I lost a sister and an aunt, I lost a brother, and people aren't talking about it because, first of all, you're not in public, right? We're shut down. And then also, I told people things that worked for me. So for me, I didn't experience, you know, if somebody sort of looked like they got their bristles up, I'd say, don't worry, I've tested negative, you know, but that doesn't mean it's over.
Gotcha.
So, but mostly I just tried to be an information, you know, I tried to be an advocate for what had worked for me.
It sounds like you got feedback on Facebook from people that was helpful to you. That's wonderful.
No, I learned about the Gatorade and Powerade thing by researching it myself. And there was something about salt, and I'm not supposed to do a lot of salt, so I tried Gatorade or Powerade, and it, like, for a couple of weeks I felt like I had this knot at the base of my throat, which was worse when I tried to go to sleep. And Powerade and I don't even like those things, but Powerade and Gatorade saved me for that. It just broke it up and I could go to sleep.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And Shawn, we're talking about, did you face stigma? How did you handle any social interactions with COVID?
Well, like you say, first and foremost, once again, going back to the the way that I received my food. I haven't put it on the porch. And then my job was very, very helpful. Toward the end of my COVID, they would do the DoorDash things and they would bring over food and check them. But when they didn't, it wasn't, I don't want to say standoffish, but when you would go back to work, when I went back to work, you could kind of feel people kind of avoiding you if it was two in the room and you came, and I would go into the break room, and I know they usually would eat in the break room. They would heat up their food and they'd go back to their cubicle. So, and people not shunned you, but they were aware, oh, well, you were out because I was out for 3 weeks. So, they were like, you really had it bad. I said, yeah, really close to, going some other places. And so with that thought in mind, there's a stigma that goes with it, and so not until, much later when they saw you move, and definitely if you coughed or like you said, had to go pull a towel off, you'd watch them. And there was nothing, some of it was safety and some of it was abundance and too much, it was a cautiousness. So yeah, there's a stigma that goes with it. And maybe not even a bad one, because we still don't know all of what it could have done to us. So I can see it, but yeah, and I didn't hold it against.
It can still do to us.
Yeah, it can still do to us. That's what I'm saying. So I didn't hold it against a person, if they didn't feel comfortable. And I did my part. I always kept my mask on and stayed 6 feet away. I tried to do everything that I could. And I wasn't ashamed of it. When people asked me, they had some HIPAA stuff going on at work, and you would just be out. But I mean, if you were out, people knew I wasn't pregnant or something like this. So if he's out that long, he's got the COVID. It was going like that.
Well, I live in the land of anti-maskers, so people would be whining and complaining about having to wear masks, and I'd be like, well, I just got over COVID, and wearing a mask is nothing compared to getting sick, so mine was sort of on the other end of the spectrum there.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's brought out a lot of interesting dynamics in this country, interesting things to navigate. And comment from the chat box, I was tested in January and got the out of office, let her back up.
Got the oohs and ahs, and people kind of step back. That's what that means. I know what Patricia said. Ooh,
you.
Yeah, you kind of go in front of. You can go in front of me, or they, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So one woman said to her, "Should you be here?" But you're right. COVID does not last forever. It's it's like a flu. It's a virus that you get, and then you get over it. But apparently, sometimes those symptoms hang on. So we're still puzzling that part of it out.
Well, and I was negative. I was still really sick when I tested negative. That was what was amusing. And, Shawn said his son was only sick for 4 days. My son was sick for a lot. I mean, I think he probably still has some symptoms. He still doesn't have his full energy back. And he's 25. So it's not age related, It's, young people die from this too. Young people lives are permanently altered from this also.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were saying. The symptoms just vary so much with the person. Some people have strokes, some people have GI problems and vomiting, diarrhea. Some people have coughing. It really depends on the person. But I'm so glad we've got some survivors here. And another note from Deborah, still fighting that post-COVID fatigue, but you do a little more each day. There you go.
Metabolism, that's all right.
Baby steps. All right. So what did you find helpful and unhelpful coming from loved ones and friends during your illness?
I can jump in. The helpful part was the support, the prayers, the love. The unhelpful was kind of, I drank many years in the Marine Corps. That it's like you can just beat this. Oh, just eat the soup. Stay under the cover, sweat it out. And I'm like, you don't know how I feel. Marcia has shared, just get up each day because you don't really feel like doing it. You don't have any energy. Well, you don't stay in the bed will drain you. The bed will drain you. I'm like, well, hell, it's not like I want to stay in the bed. So if you didn't walk in my shoes, I would appreciate the encouragement. but not the direction, because we're all at different places. You can encourage me. So what was helpful was support, but what was unhelpful for me was the direction, because really you don't know what I'm feeling.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and if you end up with the flu, everybody has the same sort of symptoms. You end up with COVID, and it's a whole, like a girlfriend of mine at the same time got COVID, and it was a heart issue for her. If she would have been on a ventilator if it had gone into her chest, because she's got asthma, and she's still dealing with racing heart issues. And she came out of that same period. We all got COVID for Christmas. She didn't get it from us, probably got it from her husband, but she didn't have any of she might have had some cold-like symptoms, but she didn't have she doesn't have the fatigue, for example, that you and I have. She hasn't been hit the same way. So it's, when you have the flu, you could sort of share your misery with each other and it comes to an end. But when you have COVID, it's different.
And from a macro side from a business side or a bigger picture, what was helpful was they had some entities out here also important in the barbershop, with the barbershop that we own. So then you have people, as you kind of come out of it, hey, did you get any of the COVID money? Did they send you? I'm like, so helpful was it was available. Unhelpful was, this is none of your business what I got, because you don't know what I went through, and how to affect, because they shut the barbershop down for a long time. And we just really started reopening about 3 months ago. And that's only so many people that you can let in. And now we're back to full capacity. But people,
yeah, I have to say that $600 check came right in time, because I got it in the first week in January, and like Devin hadn't worked for 2 or 3 weeks. I wasn't working. That was one of those relief checks. This check really helped too. I was way behind on my car payment, and I'm now caught up.
Good.
I don't know what I would have done if that $600 check hadn't come when it did, because it saved us when we were really sick.
So, and I think, Paige, for all of us, that's what people don't understand. So you say what was helpful and what was hurtful. It covers a whole gambit of stuff, from the physical to the mental to the emotional to the actual financial.
Yeah, it seems to impact every part of your life, and definitely that pull yourself up by the bootstraps message. I can't imagine that possibly being helpful when you're physically ill or mentally ill, and that's. I understand the good points of, having that go get 'em attitude, but it's very limited and actually hurtful when you're just sick. So.
Well, and if I hadn't rested, I probably would have gotten sicker. Not that I had much of a choice. I could barely get up and take a shower at one point. So it wasn't like I had any choice about resting.
Right.
If I had tried to take my ADHD medication and power through, I would have ended up sicker.
Exactly. And you have to listen to your body. That's just such an important thing, that it's almost a lesson we need to learn and relearn over our lifetime. And I see some really nice comments in the chat box. Someone sharing their story similar, got COVID for Christmas, and it was her daughter's first Christmas. So they did not get to celebrate with their larger family on that holiday. I'm so sorry. And having the ongoing taste and smell issue. I've read about that, where the taste and smell doesn't come back. And when it does, things just smell or taste weird or even very bad. So I hope that works itself out for you. And
for me, it passed after a few weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, we're almost at the halfway point. Do you all have anything you'd like to say that I didn't get to before we move on to our video?
I'm okay. I'm doing a great job, Paige, facilitating. I feel comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, because I think it's, I think the thing that's lacking for people who don't get hospitalized, and I wouldn't want anyone to get hospitalized, is just information. So each of us telling our story, it may not be somebody else's experience. I'm also a substitute teacher, and one of the office managers at the school I sub for the most, she and I had identical COVID experiences, and we just, when we should be, or at least as identical as any of them get. And I joked with her, I thought I might need to get my first package of Depends, and she's like, Oh my God, I understand completely. So it's just like that, I mean,
I do
Right.
know,
nice.
Marcia, excuse me for jumping in. Prior to us, before we go to the video, prior to us kind of all coming together, Peg and I were talking, and I was able to just find some things that helped me. It's a group that's called Survivor Corps. It's surviving and spell corpse like the Marine Corps, CORPS. If you can put that down and pull that up, they had a lot of good information to where you can follow up testing for long haul and avenues and things that are available. But it's called Survivor Corps.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Shawn. Thank you for that. Survivor Corps, you want to Google that and they'll have information
The
for you.
CORPS Corps.
Very good. Okay. Well, I'm so glad that we have our guests with us. I also want to give a shout out to folks who are working behind the scenes tonight, our mental health intern, Patience Greg, and our psychiatric nurse, Gail Pruitt, who are working on our chat box and responding to our Facebook comments respectively. Executive Gary, I wanted all that to come out of my mouth at once. Executive Director Gary Kreitz, thank you for always being here. And of course, thanks to Marcia and Shawn for being with us. Tonight, we're gonna meet for the second time on Thursdays with Nami, our Nami, North Carolina mascot. Her name is Juniper. And
look at that.
yeah, this is a picture of her. She is a 60-pound coonhound and lap dog.
Yes. Oh, Peg, she pulls you around.
Stop. Yes. Who told you that?
60
And,
pounds, and I can see how she's looking like she wants to go.
She does.
She's a
She
hound.
does.
Of course she wants to go.
She wants to smell every little thing. And she also wants to encourage everyone to get involved with the virtual Nami walk this year, which is taking place on May 22nd. And she's got some tips for us tonight. First thing you have to do is always warm up before you walk. Yeah. Always got to warm up. And then she's got one more.
That's cute.
Yeah, she's pretty silly. One more tip for us. I got to go back to that because I did not pause it. So I'm going to hear that very quiet but noticeable soundtrack until I skip away from that. Actually, why don't we leave it there? We'll save the next tip for next week. That's June. Always warm up before you walk, and please join us on our Nami walk on May 22nd. It's a wonderful chance to keep Nami services going, our free classes, support groups, and presentations. Also, Thursdays with Nami, stuff like this. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Q&A portion of our show. That's question and answer. If you're new to Zoom, you might be wondering, how on earth do I ask a question? Well, if you look at the bottom of your monitor a little bit towards the left, you'll see a Q&A icon, and click there, type your question. We will immediately get it sent through to us. It's like magic.
Right.
All righty. First one is for Shawn. Has your Marine training, URA, had an impact on dealing with mental illness and COVID?
Yes, it has, and sometimes it's been a true blessing, and sometimes with the COVID, with the question marks that come with it, it's been a X mark, because you want solutions, and right now there are not solutions for COVID except to go through it. And Marines are built for instant obedience to orders, at least for all the years that I was a Marine. I still am a Marine, and so I want a solution. I don't do very well with questions. I want a solution for those things. I take the question, but I want a solution. And sometimes I'm learning with COVID myself, the solution for COVID is patience. Patience, and just having to take somebody, one of the panelists that also shared, being patient with yourself and taking the baby steps till you can get better. So it has been a blessing, and it has been hurtful at times, because I want to push through it, and this is not a push through issue for me.
Right. Marcia, do you have things in your background that have made dealing with COVID, given you tools, or maybe you wish you had different tools?
Well, I think my faith has helped me. I just have to believe that everything happens for a reason. I sort of thought I was going to get COVID because I sort of thought that Devin would end up bringing it home, not to any fault of his own, as it turned out. I didn't know what I was getting into, getting sick, but just faith, and then just like becoming more focused on self-care.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, here's how fog works. I really wanted to exercise today. I didn't even, usually it's like this mental battle for me. It just completely went away. All of a sudden I was getting ready to meet with you guys. And I'm like, I forgot to exercise today. And I really did, because that's helping. When I exercise, it helps my knee. So, but it's just trying to be gentle and patient with myself, you know, and just having faith that there are no accidents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always like it, accepting, you know, and just accepting what is, because I can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could sometimes, but
Yeah.
you
And
know, I feel blessed because I don't have to try to go out and have a 40-hour work week. You know, I could not work 40 hours a week or even 30 hours a week if my life depended on it. And 2 years ago I did. So I'm really grateful that I'm in a position where I can stay home or, you know, not work if I don't want to.
Mhm.
So that's a blessing. I feel for people who have to go back to work with this thing, because it's just not easy. You're not the same person.
Right. Really nice note from Deborah. Let's keep encouraging and building
Yes.
each other up. Thank you for the invite. Must slide out of the room. Abundant blessings to all. Well, thank you so much for that note.
Yeah. And I think along with what Deborah had just shared, for me, I'm learning as I'm getting healthier with my COVID, I like to say, we all hate COVID happened, but I think it has brought, let me speak for myself, it has brought a sense of reconnecting with community, reconnecting with trust. You know, I think everybody, I hear a lot of times they say, oh, I'm so going to be so glad to be able to hug somebody again, or be able to be you know, face to face with a love. Where in my life I had almost to the point I always loved you. I'm a toucher and a hugger, but I had taken it for granted that you could just do this. And so even now, as we're going through the vaccine process, I know I've been trying to help with the community, because we as persons of color do have sometimes some trust issues with going back to getting the vaccine. And so I'm not promoting it, that's an individual choice. But I do know that for going out there, I say, hey, here's my example. Here's what the VA did with me. Here are my results. I don't feel bad about. So somewhere within there's a reconnection with people. And I think COVID has helped me do that there. It's made me more, I already was a people person, I like to think, but it's made me more appreciative of the people that I am able to connect with, as opposed to just connected. I appreciate it more now.
Well, I like that too. I would say I've always been an advocate. I'm not necessarily a people person. I sort of think animals are better than people, but
Tell us how you feel, girl.
it's true. But I've been an advocate, you know, and I'm in an area, you know, where people don't want to take like one person told me that she wasn't going to take the vaccine because our country would be able to track her wherever she went. I mean, there's some really wild things out there. And I just said, you know, I don't ever want to be that sick again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I took the vaccine because I work with kids when I'm a substitute, and because I don't want to be that sick again. I mean, I still take my second dose, and I got Moderna, and it may make me sick for a couple of days. I'll take a couple of days over 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, you know, I'm an advocate for the vaccine in an area where it's, although in my little 40,000 person area, we reached 10,000 vaccinated people last week. So that's pretty good.
Congratulations.
But, you know, so a lot of them that were advocating not getting vaccinated obviously are. So that's a good thing. But I just always say, you know, I'm not going to choose to get sick with this thing again if I have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I received my first shot a week or so ago, and I did feel a little bit of soreness. The second shot is coming up in a couple more weeks. And I did hear the same conspiracy theory that it's implanting cameras and the tracking device and this and that. I don't see why anyone would put the technology or the expense into tracking Peg Morrison around. Like, she just goes back and forth from work to home in the dog park. That's all this girl has going on.
That's how I feel about like Facebook. Like, I don't have, like, If you want to know my story, go for it.
Yeah.
You're a mess, Peg. That's all right.
You've said that before and you're not wrong. All right. I don't see any new questions in the Q&A, so I'm gonna start with my announcements. Another program, our first hour has flown by, and we'll go as long as we need to. We just follow the energy of the group. Show up next week. We've got Pearlie Williams. She's a wonderful gal from Durham, North Carolina. She has a wonderful story of faith, trauma, recovery. It's the whole package, and she's a good speaker. You'll want to hear that. Please fill out a survey. When you close out of this meeting, a Survey Monkey page will appear. Please take 2 minutes and help us out. Give us some feedback. That's how we know how to get better. And it also lets us show the people who give us grants, you know, we're doing real work and it means something to people. So if you like the show, or if you don't, if you want to help us get better, please let us know. And I don't see any other questions, so I think we're going to wrap up. An hour is more than enough time for a lot of our topics, although this was a big topic.
So I just wanted to jump in and say, I'm not going to be here on Thursday because we meet my support group meets on Thursday. So I won't be there every Thursday, but I have to be there the next Thursday because we have a board meeting too. So.
Well, thanks for carving out time for us tonight. I really appreciate it, Marcia. It was good to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. Ditto.
In closing for me, Peg, thanks. And thanks to the folks that took time out of their evening to watch us, participate with us, and hopefully learn something from us. So I appreciate it. And to the folks that support us with the grants, all those things, I know they're all important. So I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And hopefully it helps.
Congratulations on getting married. Gives me hope.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, so thank you, panelists. This was a wonderful show. I appreciate your being vulnerable and candid and sharing your stories with us. You both have done so much for your own recovery and to help other people in your community. So it's certainly been an inspiring conversation for me. And all right, we're about to wrap up. Thanks everyone for being part of our conversation. Please, in the week ahead, observe social distancing, go where you need to go, do what you need to do, and be safe.
Thanks, Peg. Thanks, guys, ladies, man.
Nice meeting you.
Nice
Thanks,
meeting you.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.